I've learned over the years to dream. One thing I learned recently that I'm not great at is not talking against your own past. So I speak against my own past choices all the time. Like constantly. Like it's all I ever do. Oh, let me lock my van. Hold on. Solitary 2020. Part 2. I'm going to take this little thing. This little garden. 20 acres of world-class gardens. How beautiful. Oh my gosh. If I go down, I'm going to be at the Mississippi River. I don't know if I can handle this. My heart. Well, very beautiful here. I've never really dreamed out loud in a video. I normally talk about my past or my ideas and thoughts, but let me show you what my life is really like. Here we go. So, when I'm just walking around somewhere or driving around somewhere and I'm not taking YouTube videos and I'm not writing songs and I'm not reflecting on concepts, I'm actually dreaming. I'm almost always in future mode. And I'm almost always thinking about what's next. I'm almost always kind of just feeling, it's this like, hi cricket. Go ahead, jump again. Jump. That was cute. Yeah, just almost always feeling very dreamy. So to be in like dream mode, you feel very dreamy. Oh my gosh, I can't even stand this. Let me be quiet for a minute, this is too profound. Also, there's people nearby and I feel embarrassed to be a YouTuber, but that's silly. Look at those flowers. I'm gonna go on this little path so you can see the really big flowers. They're like the size of my head. These paths are cool. This is beautiful. This is where I am, by the way. They're huge. They're literally the size of my head. Okay. Continuing. I feel like there are bugs landing on me, but it might just be my own hair itching my face. Alright, continuing. I see a little gazebo. I'm going to go over by the Mississippi. That's just fun to say and think about. I always thought if I was going to live by the Mississippi that it would have to be in Minneapolis. But my life has evolved. I ended up falling in love with a man who jokingly called himself a country boy. He's not a country boy, but he did spend a lot of his life in Newaygo, which is pretty central Michigan. Not central, but you know, like just kind of small town. Small lake town, small, just small town. Very, very, very small town. And some of it in Grand Haven, which is also a very small town. It's touristy, but it's still a very small town. And that's been most of his life. And so despite living in Denver for a little bit, which is probably what I had to relate to him on, you know, I was very drawn to his sort of mountain man, West Coastiness, but also, you know, he lived like there, Manitou Springs kind of area and all of that, and I don't know, it's just kind of, my shoes are getting soaked. Look at that, they're like ginkgos. They're a little ginkgo tree. It's a weird looking one. Anyway, the only reason I'm telling that, sorry to tell your story, Brian, but the only reason I'm telling that is because over the years of staying in Grand Haven and staying with him because of my mad love for him, like insane amounts, and it overall feels insanely healthy, unlike almost every relationship I've ever had in the past, including friendships, where things end up toxic because I don't find myself and I don't speak my mind and I don't share my heart and I don't be authentic, and I just have always put myself in these weird subservient roles to people where I don't know, it's very weird. That's how I've ended up in so many abusive situations. Anyway, being with Brian is a million times not like that. Hi, little guy. He's a very supportive man. So, anyway, that being so attractive to me made it so that I stayed in a small town for so long that now when I go into cities, they don't quite feel like me, which is really weird. So I'm not trying to be anti-cities just for Brian. It just kind of happened where it's like you live in small towns long enough that when you go into cities, you're like, oh, this is really dense and twice as expensive. Whereas look where I am right now. Who wouldn't want to just be on the little banks of the Mississippi in a gazebo wandering around in St. Cloud, Minnesota? And what that kind of does for me is that kind of opens up the whole country. So if I'm going to make, apply to colleges to teach or a company, it's like, and I know that I was trying to think recently, like, beautiful, good morning. Not at all, no. Wow. Oh my gosh, it's like the most beautiful place I've ever been. It's just like, maybe not the most beautiful, but it's, oh, a loon. Or a duck. I think it's a loon. That's a Minnesota thing. I'm gonna come right by her. Hey, buddy. I can't believe I'm looking at the Mississippi. Oh gosh, it's a duck and there's so many of them. Hi, guys. I'm in shock that this is the Mississippi. Oh, there's like a swing. Look at that, a little swing. Oh, I'm in shock right now. Hi, duckies. So anyway, before I met Brian, all kinds of places were out for me because, like, what if there had been a job in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, where my sister went to college? Well, I always would say things like, well, I find that very beautiful, but I can't live outside of a city, or I can't live that far from a city. That was always my feeling, was like, if I'm going to be successful, or if I'm going to be famous and make the family proud, or any of these random thoughts and motivators, then I believed I had to be in a place like that. And actually, by my lifestyle, I've kind of outgrown that. I don't need that much density. I don't need that much stimulation. I don't need to go out drinking. I don't need to be wild. I don't need to see 10,000 plays by 30 different theater companies like I used to be able to see and work with in Chicago. And I did love that. I did love that when I was younger. And that's what I mean about not talking against your own past. I loved cities when I was younger, to the point where I don't feel like as an artsy person, they made me feel so normal. And I needed that, because I had grown up in a 10,000 person city, 100,000 person city, 80,000, Racine, Wisconsin, and always felt a little bit too much like a freak for my own taste, like writing so many songs or being, a singer-songwriter just in general. That felt kind of freakish where I was from. And then when you get to Chicago, you're like, oh, tons of people are doing this. And here's this dive bar called the Gallery Cabaret, and 2 nights a week you can just come play the songs you wrote. And it felt like the most normal thing on the universe, or on the planet, in the universe, on the planet, whatever. And so I think that's why maybe so many people wired like me, artists and whatnot, end up having these stints in their 20s or 30s where they live in cities, but then eventually maybe whatever made their souls live in places like this originally, like that, takes over. Or maybe it's to apply to a job. I know so many of my artsy friends lived in cities and now live in places like this. And multiple of them are professors. Maybe that's where some of these dreams come from. Anyway, this is how you dream future dreams, but you try not to talk against your past self, because I love my past self. My past self lived in Chicago and New York. My past self got an MFA. My past self worked on off Broadway and was being groomed to understudy on off Broadway. Like, I'm a really good music director and a really good accompanist, and the only reason I left that profession, well, there's two. The first reason I left it is because there was no full-time job in it, which might still be true at a college, but it'd be a little more full-time. A little more steady if it's for a college and their productions. But then, and then you supplement it with some teaching. But in Chicago, where I was doing it when I decided to quit it, it was a hustle. It was like, you know, you might get a gig, you might not. You might get $100 or $200 for these ones at these like new works oriented places. But you might, you know, you might not make much. And that was too stressful. I needed something steadier. And so then once I switched to something steadier, which was piano teaching, that always happened in the evening hours. And that's really why I quit music directing. Because my job itself, the job that made it so I could pay my bills, happened in the evening hours, and that's when all the rehearsals were. So anyway, but yeah, what a hodgepodge life that would be if I got to be like a lecturer slash accompanist for musicals, but not the 10 hours a day like the high school, because that busted my arms. I can't do that. But a lecturer, an accompanist for musicals, I guess, maybe, I don't know. Sometimes I don't like institutions, so it's interesting that now I'm thinking that I would enjoy a college, but maybe when I get there, then the same way that I felt kind of off at working at a high school, maybe I'd feel off working at a college, and there'd be just as much institutionalization and not as much individualization, but swing time. But I still feel there's something in my soul that's calling out for it. Like I do like the feeling of belonging to something bigger than me. And colleges make sense to me. That age group makes sense to me. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe. It'd be fun to just do a national. I just have to finish my curriculum vitae. That's step one. That's like a resume, but it's like 25 pages long if you're me, because over the years of my resume, I keep dropping things off. Like now my resume barely even has music directing on it, even though I think I music directed over 30 musicals. My bio on jessicaandtherainbow.com doesn't even have my music directing on it. The closest it has is writing music for Where the World Mine on it. That's another thing from my past. And that came out of music directing. That's how I met Corey. Anyway, don't talk against your own past. My past is when I was young. Now I'm getting old. Aging is weird. It feels terrible. But also it's beautiful. And this is also because I keep gaining and losing weight. And so I'm like, wow. Feel like a little wrinkly puppy sometimes. Hi, Mississippi River. It reminds me a little bit of my college from my own childhood, which is a long time ago now. And that's in Appleton, Wisconsin. I'm actually going to stop by there tomorrow or the next day. So many colleges I could apply to. How cool. Well, this is fun. Sorry, that was kind of gross. Should let you see my view. Oh yeah, I was going to make up a song. Mississippi River of dreams, you deliver my heart at the seams where I've sewn things together. Cloud City of light, I believe you hold the key to my mind, unlocking the way I need to grow this time. And I'm stronger than I think I am. And Or a thumb piano, as they said at the store in Chicago I bought it at. Well, I hope you don't talk against your own past. I hope you learn to love your life like a river. The Mississippi River is feeling metaphorical without me even realizing it. That your life is like a point when you start, and you're a little baby, like a blank journal, sheet of paper, sketch pad, and then it unfolds. Or pages turn and they fill up, and if you talk against your own past, well, that's not correctable. You can't go back and change your past. But if you find ways to see your past in a beautiful light, and you find ways to see your own past in its glory, in the ways that it's making you exactly who you are, in your feet, in your body, in your skin, and you find joy in this moment. If you're finding any joy in this moment, then every moment prior to now led to this moment. So why not honor and love everything that's ever been in your own life? I don't know. When I'm around other people, I talk against myself all the time. I put myself down. I make myself small so that I can make you feel better. It's what I do. If you knew me personally, I would not be able to stop doing it. I don't know why I do it in front of everybody. And nobody does it for me. I don't know any other person that puts themselves down in order to build me up. And I've been doing this for at least 5, if not 10 years. But maybe that's why I like being alone a lot. It's the only time that I find time to build myself up enough that I could consider growing into the fullness that I am, that you are, that we all are. And I just love nurturing others and making others feel good about themselves, but like that's part of who I am. Because all the healing that I've been given and all the ways I've been given second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th chances to become something new and better than what I was before, it's like that came from other people caring about me. And maybe I've needed tough love in my life, so maybe I surround myself with people who know how to be what I need to hear, so that I can go out in the world and be a little bit more like a builder-upper. I don't know. Maybe people built me up enough in my youth, and I already believe in myself. I just have to start doing it more. Maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, because I clearly seem like I'm just being myself right now, but I guess I mean refining myself, believing that, not like in a product sort of way, I don't want to become a product, but when I was a kid, the people who affected me and influenced me were very polished. You know, if I take an example of Ella Jenkins as a little kid, or Sarah McLachlan when I got older, or listening to the Beatles or Ella Fitzgerald, like those were people at the top of their game. And it doesn't have to be a competition. A game doesn't have to be a competition. It can just be a game with yourself. And I have had phases for years now where I don't play the game to my fullest ability, where I let myself just have fun and play like a kid. But even as a kid, I was more serious than I've been the last few years. Like even as a kid, I expected myself, no, not expect, I wanted myself to be my best self. Like things might have looked childlike, but I was still trying to do my best work, or trying to create my best game, or play my best play, or whatever, you know? And I've lost touch with that a little bit. It's like a love of refining things. Like some of my favorite like textile and visual artists refine things to such a beautifully high degree that it's like stunning. And I used to do that, and I've lost it. I've lost an interest in it, but I didn't really lose an interest. I just got really discouraged and depressed about the music industry, and I was like, well, what's the flipping point? None of us are going to be successful or famous, or maybe 1 out of a million. And it just made me too discouraged to care and to try hard anymore. But I just want to try hard for me now, and for the people who do like the music I make. I don't know. It's weird to be old and be starting. Well, I'm not restarting. I mean, I still have like 40 things on my Bandcamp. I'm not going to restart. I'm just trying to refine my own beliefs. Yep, this is how you don't talk against your past, because I realized, see, I just did it again. I talked against my own last 5 years of getting sloppier in the Trump era. Because the positives of it is that I'm finding my own path that doesn't look like the paths of anybody else I know. And I'm finding my voice as a writer. And that came through writing probably like 1,000 songs in the last 3 years. Yeah, literally at least 1,000. Yeah, because the 365 year I probably wrote about 600 songs. And then that was 2017 and early 2018, and now it's been 2.5 years since then. Oh yeah, I've at least written 400 more songs. I mean, I just wrote one right now. I mean, I'm not saying they're like genius or anything, they just exist. And it's fun for me, and that's how I find my voice. That's how I find my truth. Obviously, I like some of my songs way better than others, but that's just because they feel like they're moving more in me. And they feel more sacred somehow because of how pointed a point of light they are. Whereas some others are more like water, and you don't notice every single pebble in a river, but when you get to like a touch point, like that touch point might be something you remember your whole life. Whether it's like you're on that river and suddenly you see a great blue heron, and that moment sticks with you. That happened to us. But every bend in the river doesn't stick with you in the same way. And it doesn't need to. Because how would there be moments that stand out like that? If all moments stood out, then no moments would stand out. So that's my joy then, is writing a song and not knowing when that's going to happen. And that's true for all of us. It doesn't, not just with songwriting, just with life. You don't know when those moments are going to happen, but the thing that is sad to me is when people just don't even flow like a river. They don't even trust that flow. Holy cow, if I moved here, I would have so many river metaphors. Oh no, I just dropped my Josiah bracelet. Well, that's my life. Bye.